There's lots of donuts, and we have some lovely flowers that were left for us by the Ikebana class. Good morning. Thank you for attending or observing this service. I'll go ahead and chair myself today. We're still about a month away from getting back into our temple building. The service has a title, Take a Sad Song and Make It Better. Where did I hear that? And the service order is going to be, I'm going to go outside and ring the calling bell, the konsho. When I return from ringing the konsho bell, I hope you will join me in the chanting of Junirai. Junirai, which is page 49 in the OCBC service book that we like to use. Alan will put it up on the screen for those of you who are joining us in Cyberland. After chanting Junirai, we will sing the Gatha Hotoke Sama, which is in the book, page 116 in the book. And again, Alan Goto will have it on the screen for you if you're at home. That will be followed by the devotional reading of the 6 Paramitas on page 11, then a Dharma message, and I will, after my Dharma message, I will close. So thank you so much for joining us. I will go out and ring the calling bell. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo the Butsu, 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 Namo the Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo the Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Butsu. Namo the Butsu, Namo the Butsu, Namo the Butsu, Namo Namo the Butsu, 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 Namo the Butsu. So I will light the incense at this point, and I'm going to ask you to cue up, whichever way you do it, Junirai, which is again on page 49 of the OCBC Seiten. Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu. Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu. Namo Butsu. Namo Butsu. Namo Butsu. Again, I'll ask you to join me in the chanting of the Gatha Junirai, the sutra passage. Keishu tenin shokugyo, amida senryo doku son, zaihi mimeu anako, muryo bushi shui neu, honjiki Shinyo nyo tenno shamata gyo nyo dobu ryomoku jonyoku shorenge koga chorai mida son menzen enyo nyo mangatsu iko yu nyo ten ichigatsu Shonyo tenku kushira koga chorai mida thon kannon chodai kanshuju shuju meutho hosyogon nobuku gedo makyoman koga chorai mida thon Mubi muku kosyojo shutoku keuket nyokoku shotari yaku toku jidai koga chorai midathon jippo myomon bosashu muryo shomadyo sandan Isho shujo ganrikiju koga chorai mida son kontai hoken chishoke zengon shodyo meudaiza ohiza jonyo senno koga chorai mida son Jippo shorai shobushi kengen jinzushi anrak sengo songen jokugyo koga chorai mida son shou mujo mugato yakunyo suigatten yoro Ishu seppo mumyoji koga chorai mida son hison buset mu akumyo yakumu nyonin akudohu shunin shishin kyo hison koga chorai mida son Hison muryo benkyo mu shoshu akuchi shiki ojo hutai shi bodai koga chorai mida son ga setten hison kudokuji shuzen mu hen kai sui shogyaku zengon shoujo sha eseishu jo shohi koku namandabu 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 Gani shikudoku Byodo sei isai don modai shin onyo Mita Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Mita Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. I don't ask you to stand when we're in the classroom, so remain seated, and we will now have our Gatha and our devotional reading, and the Gatha will be Hotoke Sama, and it's on the screen for you who are at home, and for us here, it's on page 116 in the OCBC Satan, which to some is green and others it's gray and some say it's brown, but it's a nice book. Page 116, we'll go on a count of three because I can't quite coordinate with Kathy on what's happening cyberly, so hopefully you'll join me on a count of three. 1, 2, and a no, 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 sama, hotoke sama, watashi no suki na ka sama no, omune no yo ni yanwari to, dakarete mitai, Hotoke Thama, just 2 verses. No, 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 Thama, Hotoke Thama, watashi no suki na to sama no, otete no yo ni shikari to, datsugate mitai, Hotoke Thama. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namita Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Yeah, I didn't risk the 3rd verse, which isn't completely memorized. But I will now ask you to join me in the devotional reading of the 6 paramitas. This is a brief one, and it's on page 11, bottom of the page. The 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections of Buddhist living. Dana, giving. May I be generous and helpful. Shila, guidance. May I be guided by the Buddhist precepts. Kshanti, tolerance. May I regard the mistakes of others with sympathy. Virya, perseverance. May I do my best in all things. Dhyana, meditation. May I reflect deeply on my life through the Buddha's teachings. Prajna, insight. May I understand the meaning of Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Butsu. Well, thank you for joining us for this morning's service. Excuse me for not using the mask. I'm pretty unintelligible with the mask on. I have had my 2 boosters and my 2 original vaccinations, and I'm going to keep getting them. I'm going to take everything. Also had the seasonal flu shot. But I appreciate your people being cautious. This morning I went out and got donuts. I went to Ralph's and got some ice cream. And so it's 2 facilities. I was the only person in the building that wasn't an employee wearing a mask. It just doesn't hurt, you know. It doesn't hurt to wear them when you don't think you need them. So thank you for masking on occasions here. Alan Goto is recording this for us, and Kathy Kumagai is getting it up onto the internet for us. And here we're recording, as you know, you are here in person. It's the 15th of May, the Ides of May. Before Shakespeare's play, Julius Caesar, was the Ides of a month, was that ominous? I don't know that. You know, he used that term. The Ides of March was when Julius Caesar was stabbed to death. And of course, I think Shakespeare's play, a number of sources tell us what's probably true is that Julius Caesar's wife had a dream that he shouldn't go to work today. If Kyoko has a dream that I shouldn't go to work, I'm not going to be here. If I have a dream that I'm getting stabbed, I won't be here. You know, sometimes your dreams, the way your brain puts together all kinds of information and processes it and tells you something. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. It is the Ides of May. I don't know if Ides has ominous meaning outside of March, but the middle of May, the 15th, and we are a week away from our Gotane service, Founders Day service. And at the Gotane service, in my Dharma message, I'll speak a bit about the life of Shinran Shonin, our denominational founder. But today I want to talk about Shinran's attitude towards our journey to enlightenment. So allow me also to ask what our attitudes are, what attitudes we might take. What attitudes might we take towards our journey to enlightenment, towards our attempts to improve our lives, towards our hopes on some occasions to be able to accept life as it is. Yeah, please keep coming in. There's plenty of good seating available. Depending on which conditions life presents to us in a particular moment, we have to react differently. We take different stances. Sometimes we really need to take a sad song and make it better. That's the title of today's talk, and some of you know where that comes from, and I mention that later. But yeah, most of the challenges life confronts us with are occasions to take a sad song and make it better, but at other times we need to just let it be. Sometimes you do just have to let it be. It's too bad there aren't songs that exemplify these 2 points, these 2 attitudes towards living our lives, but these are the basic attitudes. If you aren't going to take a sad song and make it better, you should be letting it be. There's only half a dozen or so attitudes we can take towards life, towards the challenges that our lives make. I mean, besides these 2 stances, take a sad song and make it better, or let it be, other possible approaches to life are being cynical and dismissive, I never enjoyed the insult humor of Don Rickles or Phyllis Diller, And the big joke was supposed to be that they were really pretty nice people. Yeah, maybe if you were your personal friend and you lived next door to them, they were. I sure as heck hated to see either of them on TV. They just made my skin crawl. Just their whole routine was tearing other people down, They were clever at it, they were good at it, but that kind of humor doesn't appeal to me. But it is one way to go through this life. Phyllis Diller lived to be 95. You know who was the longest living cabinet member in the 200 and, how many years is it? 244 years of our country's history. The longest living cabinet member was Earl Butz. You remember him? Crooked, dishonest. That's not what Shinran recommended. Earl Butz was crooked, he was dishonest, he was a liar, he was openly racist. But that's one way to navigate through this life, Former Secretary of Agriculture Earl Butz was dishonest, crooked, and openly racist. And for cheating on his taxes, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. And as guys at this level will do, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and he served a month. And then they let him out. So he probably figured it was worth it. He got away with some tens of thousands of dollars that he cheated on his taxes. So he probably figured he was content with his life, There's other ways to go through this life besides the ones that I or Shinran or anyone with a spiritual turn might recommend. There are various attitudes we may take towards the opportunities that life presents us. And some of those stances are effective in certain situations, but not others. In some cases, we really need to take a sad song and make it better. In other cases, we need to simply let it be. Our denominational founder, Shinran Shonin, recommends an attitude of let it be for receiving the Buddha's compassion, for coming to Shinjin, for coming to a deep trust in the teachings, for coming to a deep confidence in our hearts and minds, let it be. However, for living our lives day to day, he recommends that we take a sad song and make it better. And I will read Shinran's remarks in a letter number 20 in the Matosho collection, a letter he wrote when he was 80 years old. It's a long letter, and my colleagues and I and our Kongaku senseis always read the first half of the letter. So today I'm going to read the second half of the letter. Before I read the letter, let me comment briefly on the concept that Shinran uses here and uses over and over again, rejecting the world. See, we hear that term, and of course that's an old term that goes back to being Zaikate, goes back to being someone who leaves their home and becomes a monk. But Shinran can't mean that by rejecting the world, right? Because we're not becoming monks. We don't give up, we don't renounce eating meat or drinking alcohol or having sexual relations. So that's not what he means by rejecting the world. What he means is giving up believing that you can come to everything you need through conventional fulfillments. That just living a conventional life is going to bring complete happiness. It's not going to. We're going to get old, we're going to get sick, and we're going to die. So there's got to be something deeper underneath it. That's the thing. This is a long letter, and I'm only reading the second half of it. But rejecting the evil of the world comes up a couple times in this letter, and what he means is that we should change. This teaching should change us. And let me again read the second half of the letter, number 20, traditionally numbered number 20 in the Matosho collection, written in August of the year that Shinran turned 80 years old. In people who have long heard the Buddha's name and said the Nembutsu, surely there are signs of rejecting the evil of this world and signs of their desire to cast off the evil in themselves. When people first begin to hear the Buddha's vow, they wonder, having come thoroughly aware of the karmic evil in their hearts and minds, how they will ever attain birth as they are. To such people, we teach that since we are possessed of blind passions, the Buddha receives us without judging whether our hearts are good or bad. When, upon hearing this, a person's trust in the Buddha has grown deep, he or she comes to abhor such a self and to lament continued existence in birth and death. And such a person then joyfully says the name of Amida Buddha, deeply entrusting himself to the vow. That people seek to stop doing wrong as their hearts move them, although earlier they gave thought to such things and committed them as their minds dictated. That people seek to stop doing wrong is surely a sign that they have rejected this world. Moreover, since Shinjin, that aspires for attainment of birth, arises through the encouragement of Shakyamuni Buddha and Amida Buddha, once the true and real mind is made to arise in us, how can we remain as we were, possessed of blind passions? There are reports of wrongdoing even among some of you. I have heard of their slandering the master, holding their true teachers in contempt. This is something we never tell you. Shinran says again and again, never criticize a Buddhist teacher. The thing is, he means any teacher at any time, which is pretty strong for us. And he's heard that these people are criticizing one of the people he trained there in the Kanto region. I have heard of their slandering the master, holding their true teachers in contempt, and belittling their fellow practicers, all of which is deeply saddening. They're already guilty of slandering the Dharma and committing the grave 5 offenses. Do not associate with them. This is what he tells us. Don't have anything to do with people who criticize Buddhist teachers. The treatise on the Pure Land says that such thoughts arise because they fail to entrust themselves to the Buddha Dharma. Moreover, in explaining the sincere mind, it teaches that one should keep a respectful distance and not become familiar with those who give themselves over to such wrongdoing. It teaches us rather to draw close to and become companions of our teachers and fellow practicers. As for becoming friends with those who are given to wrongdoing, it is only after we go to the Pure Land and return to benefit sentient beings that we can become close to and friendly with them. That, however, is not our own design. Only by being saved by Amida's vow can we act as we want. But at this moment, as we are, what can we possibly do? Please consider this very carefully. Since the diamond-like mind that aspires for birth in the Pure Land is awakened through the Buddha's working, persons who realize the diamond-like mind will surely not slander their masters or be contemptuous of their true teachers. Thus, he wrote, age 80. Now, one part of this message here, ministers almost never share with you. That's because it sounds very self-serving when we say, because Shinran is telling us to have nothing to do with people who criticize Buddhist teachers. This is very strong, you know. He is not saying, have nothing to do with people who criticize valid Buddhist teachers who are morally upstanding. He's saying, have nothing to do with anyone who criticizes any Buddhist teacher. Can I do that? It's something he's really trying to worry us about, you know. Don't tear down those teachers. And you know why? You look at teachers here in Southern District over the last 25 years. Myself, Reverend Moskadani, Reverend George Matsubashi, Takata Sensei from West LA, Nakata Sensei, who was at L.A. at the Betsuine, Bishop Marvin Harada. These are 5 very different views. These 5 people have very different views on what the Pure Land is, what the Buddha is, what the Nembutsu is. So that means that, I got to tell you, Takata Sensei I pretty much agree with. Actually, George Sensei and I are pretty much in agreement too, Matsubashi. Some of the others that I mentioned, I really disagree with them. I see it totally differently. I must not speak against them, because even though I don't like their interpretation, they reach some people. They help some people who are in pain. And that's why Shinran tells us this. Not all teachers are equally competent, but don't go running down the Dharma teachers, because you're taking away somebody's ability to have nurturance, to have guidance, to have some hope. The more crucial part of the message, Shinran repeats several times: how can we remain as we were? We don't expect to become saintly and perfect on this path, but when we see ourselves clearly and we see this promise, this commitment to the well-being of all living things, Hongan, the fundamental vow of Amida Buddha, extending to us and including us and lifting us up, how can we remain as we were? Now that you know that your future will be bright, why aren't you taking a sad song and making it better? We will work to help others who may be trapped in a sad song if we feel assured of our own future well-being through Amida Buddha's compassion. We will. Making a sad song better is what we do when we realize that, having been touched by the caring of the Buddha, we cannot remain unchanged. We cannot remain as we were. Take a sad song and make it better. However, in the religious dimension of our lives, we really do just let it be. I read the second half of letter number 20 from the Matosho collection of letters, and it gives us great advice for living in the world, which really does come down to that phrase from Hey Jude: take a sad song and make it better. But I'm going to read, I read you half of that letter. I'm going to read 1/4 of Tanisho Article 7, which is 4 sentences long. So I'm going to read one sentence, just the first sentence from Tanisho Article 7, and that sentence is: Nembutsu sha wa muge no ichido nari. Or in English, the person of the Nembutsu walks on the single path which has no obstructions. Walk on, don't worry. This is what Shinran has to say to us about spiritual matters. It's okay. Someone's taking care of you. There's an energy behind you and underneath you, picking you up and carrying you where you need to go. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. Let it be. At a spiritual level, let it be. At a socio-political level, don't let it be. Make things better. And we don't have to agree about what to do. What the heck are we going to do about gun violence in this country, right? It's ridiculous. I don't know what to do, right? Don't shoot anybody. I'm committed to, what are we going to do? The exacerbation of racism in this country, it's really odd, I mean, I'm 73 years old. I lived through the 50s, and I remember riding my bike onto the west side of town and going, oh, we have a lot of black people here in Fresno. I had no idea, right? There are a lot of Hispanic and white were mixed, but the black people were all still in a ghetto on the west side. They couldn't afford to buy. By that time, if they had the money, they could have bought in somewhere else, but they didn't have the money. So yeah, I mean, that was 1950s, 1956. I ride my bike across the tracks, and whoa, there are a lot of black people here. I didn't know that. And then in the 60s, it seemed to be getting better. We passed these measures. Oh my goodness, and now sexism seems to be getting better, and now we really, there's a real likelihood Roe versus Wade may be turned over. Women may no longer have control of their own biological lives. So that's take a sad song and make it better. We got to work there. We got to work there. And there's so much work to do. There's so much that has to change that we really need that other dimension of our life, which really is just let it be. It's okay. It will be all right. At a deep level, at an ultimate level, it's going to be okay, man. Nembutsu shawa muge no ichidonari. The person of the Nembutsu walks a single path with no obstructions. We walk forward and no obstructions appear in our paths. Treading the single path which has no obstacles, we live trustingly and confidently now and awaken to enlightenment at the conclusion of our present lives. Now, I would never tell you that you should build your whole life around 2 Beatles songs, but Shinran already has. He just didn't know that the Beatles, in this case mostly Paul McCartney, were going to write Hey Jude and Let It Be. But that's what Shinran has to tell us, these 2 things, that day in and day out, Hey Jude, take a sad song and make it better. But when it comes to the spiritual dimension, we come here Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, let it be. It's going to be all right. Trust, there's this one dimension of your life where you don't have to do anything. It's all been taken care of. All will be well. All will be well. For almost all the challenges life hands us, take a sad song and make it better is the answer. That's why Shinran asks us, how could we remain the same? But in that crucial religious matter of our eventual Buddhahood, we really do just let it be. I will close the Dharma message portion of the service on that note. I will refresh the incense in case some of you want to come up after service to offer incense. I thank you very much for your attendance. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Next week, Gotane, and of course, Saturday, 21st, bingo chicken bingo. I thought we should have bingo spaghetti, and people buy the noodles, but you have to win the sauce. Mm-hmm.